Good evening. You are listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob. I am broadcasting to you live from the Extreme Studios in the Pine Hills Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida, and also from Central Florida. I have the
Woody
young
Allen.
20-something Barnabas Collins drinking Professor Pixel, who's seen all 1,225 episodes of every individual 22-minute production of the original Dan Curtis production, Dark Shadows, and from the Great Midwest, I have RDV. We were
Yeah.
backstage talking about vampires, gentlemen, and so I had to say, vampires changed a lot in the 80s. And what does that have to do with tonight's movie, The Morning After, with Jane Fonda and
Don't you
Jeff
dare say
Bridges?
it. There's no correlation whatsoever.
There is a correlation because it sucks. And,
No, it's
this movie violates one basic tenet that
wow.
we've derived here. I'm making a pun on the word suck there because we've got a main character that Jane Fonda does a great job in here. And the movie's shot well. It's a beautiful looking thing. And Jeff Bridges, who doesn't like him?
Is it?
I think the
Yeah.
role should have been reversed here because I don't see how we can root for her and follow her. And that's the
Well,
one kind of
no,
lighthearted thing
I
about it.
disagree. I mean, that's the whole point of it because you don't know if who's framing her or if she really did it or not. She's a washed-up has-been actress who wakes up next to a dead body, doesn't know how she, so you know who the person is.
Yep.
She's panicking. First she tries to flee, and it's Thanksgiving Eve, day before Thanksgiving, and she's basically trying to get out of there. And when she realizes all the flights are messed up, she quickly leaves. So she ends up meeting Jeff Bridges, who was fixing his beat up Bel Air car. Right away, I'm getting like Jeff Bridges, creepy serial killer vibes. He could be the killer because at this point you don't know if she killed the person or not, but you're led to believe that she's innocent. Or at least she believes she is.
Look,
So,
I like the movie.
Or she did it. She was too drunk. She doesn't know.
That's true because she's a
Blackout
I love as her estranged relationship with her husband, soon to be ex-husband, says that it's like you don't know this guy. This guy could be the killer because later on, she basically goes back to her place. She gets down with Jeff Bridges, and then she wakes up and she realizes that there's the body that was in the loft she left somehow went up in her closet in her house. Doesn't know how it's got there, and he's like, "Well, he could have put there. He was there with you when I called you last night. And you passed out drunk on the phone." Like I said, I love that. Like I said, I love
this kind of film. I agree with you totally.
Yeah, I had no idea
The
who
thing
was killer.
is, it will tell me where Jane was on the odometer.
Well,
Those legs, man.
Pixel.
Those legs.
I got to tell you, to
Jane
set up the
Fonda's
scene
hotness.
here for the 80s, Jane Fonda, who was married to Ted Turner, that's why she got a lot of pub and press. I believe she was nominated for Best Actress for this movie. This movie got a lot of praise because it's shot well. It's by Sidney Lumet, who's done a lot of great films. It looks great. It's got that feel that RDV was just talking about too, that 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s type of thing to it. I'm just saying it's hard for me to root for her because she's an alcoholic one, and to me, there's really nothing redeeming about her. I'm not saying she's awful. She does a great job, but she was popular. She was overrated in the 80s because of how much screen time she had, to the fact that she was married to her husband who did different things with cable that had been done before, and she did exercise video stuff. I'm not saying she's ugly. I'm not saying whatever, but she does a great job in here. She does a hell of an acting job in here, and Jeff Bridges is just sort of there. I'm just going, as soon as I saw Raul Julia as her soon-to-be ex-husband, I kind of knew what the ending was, and I wasn't going to say that because I'm assuming RDV, I'm asking you this as well, Pixel. For me, this is a first watch. Was it for you guys?
Yeah.
Definitely first watch, like I said, and the fact that you're not supposed to like her at the very beginning plays in the fact that she might be the killer.
I don't
Agreed.
think so.
And I think it would have been a lot more fun if perhaps that might have been a solution because they do present a lot of possibilities.
But as far as Jane Fonda as actress, you have that knowledge. Pixel and I did not have that knowledge going into this as far as what she was in the 80s. I went based off the actual film itself, and like I said, I like the fact that you didn't know if Jeff Bridges was the killer. Because why is this guy just going on his way to help her?
It was too convenient.
Well, it was too convenient, but I did like whenever he would, like that night after he had gone ahead, he did the deed and looked like he was getting ready to go ahead and just leave. He was turning off the lights, and you hear that sinister music cue up as it goes dark. And it's like, why are you doing that? What are you doing? And actually, I'm kind of disappointed in the ending. I feel like there was better options. I don't know.
Well,
Like,
without saying what the ending is, I'll say this: there's only so many possible endings. I agree with. I'll only agree with you in a sense. And RDV, I don't know how you feel about this too, but Pixel, the thing is with the ending, and I'm not trying not to say what it is for people that haven't seen it. I didn't like the fact. Well, let me back and rephrase this a different way. I was going back to Agatha Christie and 10 Little Indians or whatever the hell it is. Everybody's in a room. You know, one of those 10 is the killer. You don't necessarily have that set up in this movie, I think, and that's where it fails a little bit too. Because I would agree with you on that, Pixel.
yeah, I
can't believe it.
I will say that I think that the movie does have a lot going for it. I was kind of surprised because I didn't really read the description. Went in, it starts out talking about this guy, Brooke something, Brad, whoever, and him and doing these sleaze photos. And I thought, okay, is this who we're going to be following for the movie? And then no, he's dead. Oh, okay. I was expecting a little more of the, and I thought you would appreciate that, Rob, a little more of the voyeur side of things for this photographer.
It's the best scene to me was early on, and RDB, you're commenting on it because it is a great opening hook, and it immediately draws you in. You don't know anything about her. You don't know if you should root for her or not, or if she's good, bad, or whatever. You discover her along the way. I really like the scene where she goes back. I think it's when she goes back to clean up the scene. So she's bleaching everything and trying to throw everything away and all that. And the cat is there and all that. And it's quiet, but the door, you see the way the shot is framed as she's cleaning. A door is closed, but then you see it like open like a crack, and then she realizes it's like that before she goes to leave, and then that's where she meets the Jeff Bridges character a second time or whatever, and you're like, oh, is he a part of it? They do a good job of making you feel like Jeff Bridges is a suspect, because ultimately you don't know who the killer is.
He gives her a lift by her friend's place. She says he's sick. Basically, she's returning to the scene of the crime. She goes and cleans up everything, and then as soon as she opens the door, she sees someone. She hears a cat in the closet. She's like, "How'd the cat get in the closet?" Because the cat was with her. The door was closed. So she gets freaked out. She goes out the door and immediately runs into none other than Jeff Bridges. And Jeff Bridges, I just love the way he just talks in this whole entire movie. He's got that natural kind of like
Jeff Bridges way of talking.
Well, it's like
he's an American guy. He's very charming, even in his old age. What was the show that you and I did, RDV? The Old Man.
Yes.
Yeah, he's great in it. He's fantastic.
He's calm, collect, and like I said, it also adds the eerie fact because you're like, well, he's just having to be. I found how do you find me? He's like, I you left your wallet here, and I went to and he mentions like your credit cards are expired, so it's like, whoa, red flag there. But like I said, like Jeff Bridges has that voice just like Jeff Goldblum. It just captivates you as you listen to more.
It's a very different thing.
Well, they're two different guys, yes. But I mean, as far as Jeff Bridges, the way he speaks, calm, clearly, this guy, as we finally get to see his play. It's it's a dump. It literally looks like they're in Los Angeles.
It looks like a bunker. Looks like a safe bunker. I thought they were underground for a part of the film.
So my question for Rob is, because remember we watched a movie Told the Killer, and that takes place around the same year or 87 or whatever. And
the movie.
I'm confused. Was DNA tracking all the evidence? Was that around back then, or was it? Because
was what?
DNA, like they could find. Well, obviously, can find by fingerprints, but
fingerprints have been around since roughly the turn of the century. But DNA, because of the computing power, I believe necessary to get accurate results, and of course, you have to have a database, right?
Yeah.
Which unless you've worked in some federal government capacity up to that point, you would not necessarily be fingerprinted.
That wasn't until like the 90s, right?
Well, it really picked up. It was around in the 80s, but it really picked up, and I think it was probably the threshold. And I'm speaking loosely here because I'm certainly not a police officer or federal agent, allegedly. But the threshold, I think, for that would be like at the FBI level, like serial killer type of stuff, because I think that's when it really started to change. And the thing with Jeff Bridges, to kind of pile on here a little bit about that sinister bit to him, is that he's got a very and I'm not degrading him when I say this, because I'm gonna say it's an old-fashioned type wholesome vibe to him. He doesn't seem like an angry guy, but a lot of people knew him from King Kong on the television movie. But by this point, he had been in Tron. Everybody who liked that odd stuff like Tron, even though it's kind of a boring movie from the early 80s. But by this movie, he was super big and hot because he was in Starman with John Carpenter. That's like a love story from 84.
Yes.
That's a great film. And of course, a great type of film that he's in with these types of things, because he's a rugged, masculine kind of guy against all odds. So by the time this came out, I think he's got the bigger star power. And I don't have a problem with her doing it, but it's that classic, woe is me woman, I need a man to kind of bail me out sort of thing to it. And again, Jane Fonda's completely fine in here. She's got the 80s hair. Everyone's smoking like crazy in here. But RDV, Jeff Bridges' character, we find out slowly that he used to be a cop. He has a reason why he's not. He makes her the Thanksgiving dinner. And that's honestly, ladies and gentlemen, why we picked this film, because we said, let's do a Thanksgiving type film. And we came up with it.
It takes place on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, there's only one Thanksgiving movie that's planes, trains, and automobiles.
There's Thanksgiving, which we reviewed here.
It's in the first second. Yes, I know.
There's also Pilgrim from a couple years ago. But
and now there's a new Thanksgiving movie.
Yeah. Like I said, I actually enjoyed this movie. At first I thought it was gonna be like, I was going, it's like you said, like, oh, it's kind of slow. It's like, but it's Jeff Bridges.
Not in a bad way. I like slow.
No, but you do. But I mean, there's certain movies I like more of an action-paced movies. But this was a thriller, and that's what I liked about it. It's 80s Los Angeles. Jane Fonda, who at the time was still good looking.
Yes.
Fix was gonna say, like, she's too old, man. No,
but, well, he's a child.
I already said about her legs.
You said about Aunt May all the time anyway. But anyway, getting back to the movie.
Those gums! Yes.
But I actually like this movie. And it took me a second to figure out who Jackie plays in here, Ron Julia.
Yes.
That's the Addams Family dude.
Yes.
Gomez, or whatever his name is.
His energy level was so off the charts when you saw him that you're like, he's disrupting the pace of the film, because he brings a different energy.
So the other thing about this movie is so, I guess you could say, racist, because the dialogue in here, or Jackie, the guy, or Ron Julia runs a hairdresser, and they said either you're a straight guy in a hen house or you're gay. But they don't say these words; they use the F word, hard.
Yes.
F-A-G.
And there's another one too. She does describe somebody.
But when she first meets Jeff Bridges is using like derogatory names for, like, he's using beaner, he's using harder words than that. He's using SPIC.
Yes.
He's like a lot of racist like terms.
Street language.
Yeah, street language. Yes, because he's a. And I was like, wow, I haven't heard any like movie or any people using those kind of terms in a movie in a long time, because that quickly, if you said something like that, you're gone, especially with cancel culture today. So I like that, but I like this Bel Air, his piece of crap Bel Air. He's got a 1957 Bel Air. He's fixing it up, and he's just like, here. I love Jane Fonda is to a T the ditzy girl, and she does need a man for thing, because she wants to be independent, but she basically doesn't know shit about anything other than acting. But even then, she washed up on that because she's an alcoholic. So when he says, like, can you turn the starter? It's like, what? 2 wires are there. And he's trying to start his car up. He's spraying the gas. Like I said, I his apartment. He says, I fix things. I love fixing things, which I can, admire, because that's cool.
That's just what you do if you're at somebody's house, something's loose. You inadvertently just start messing with it.
Yeah, but I mean, like, restoration stuff. It's still a hobby today. People do that for a business, which, I'm shocked that he doesn't do that for a living, because he didn't really say what he did for a living.
Well, they did actually, and that was the interesting thing about it, that if you're just the movie's seductive enough watching it that you sometimes forget to pay attention to what's going on, because you're so busy watching, especially with the opening scene. They talk about the fact that he's kind of involuntarily retired because he was a cop. He was a murder investigator. He's an investigator, and so he reads people, and that explains why maybe he was going through her stuff, or maybe it's convenient that he shows up at her place, and maybe he's keeping an eye on her and all that, and other stuff that happens. And I think the thing of him fixing things is an analogy of he's fixing her, obviously, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously he got kicked off the force because, for being an alcoholic.
Yep.
I
But I mean, I'm just saying. Since then, I mean, I thought he was supposed to be a private detective, but I wasn't sure. But he acts like kind of like one he wants to be. So, but
I was just going to say one of the better parts of this film is him actually investigating. I want you to stay here. She doesn't, but
he
goes out on the job. He's trying to figure things out. A blonde hair from we don't know. Can you really tell these days? Could be something from a wig.
So here's the other thing. I was like, there's so many red herrings as far as in this movie.
Yep.
We get a young Kathy Bates, who I barely recognize because I remember
that's right.
Misery.
That was great.
She's in there. She's one of the people in the Tenant where the guy was where the murder took place.
Yep.
And she heard someone yelling and screaming, and I was just thinking oh my gosh, what if it was Kathy Bates that this framed her? Didn't like her.
No. She goes crazy in the next 10 years.
I know, but I'm just saying because I like this movie. It kept me guessing. Now, for some people who might have guessed right away who the killer was, sure, but I mean, like I actually thought it was well paced for a thriller. I love the scenery.
Yeah.
I love getting to see the airport inside of L.A.
I couldn't stand that fake crying scene. I was like,
that was a great scene because that's all she knows what to do, right? And back then, I'm telling you, people handle things differently than they do now.
Yeah.
And so I thought that showed us Jane Fonda as an actress. Okay, she's playing probably a not too likable character, but we just understand that's the situation she's in. How is she dealing with it? Well, she turns it on even to another level to fake act about somebody dying for tickets and all that. And actually, I was going to say, I really enjoyed this because the opening scene's great to get you hooked into it, but then you just sit there and you watch. And I love the way that all the buildings are framed in here that she walks by, because the 80s has scenes of, they made a big deal, especially like in shows like Miami Vice, of showing you high rises, showing you driving scenes, showing you a static shot of somebody walking from left to right, right to left, in front of a building with a name on it. And you get that in here plenty. And I really like here how she meets Jeff Bridges, even though that's convenient. I like how they go through this extended sequence of her trying to get out, because that's what you would do. But then something happens. She accidentally hits a car in a parking lot, panics, runs, and then 2 seconds away, she's she kicks a guy in the balls or whatever, and the guy's following her and gets lost, and she ends up right up there. And that you almost can't do that in movies these days with cell phones and everything. So that fact that you're in a really crowded airport in a major modern American city, and yet in 2 minutes you could be running and hiding, was always kick-ass to me, and we don't see that enough in movies.
Yes, as like I said, a little suspense chase in there. All the way through the entire movie, I was looking at the scenery. I was, like I said, I've been watching a lot of Miami Vice. Something that Pixel should watch it if he wants to be cool. But instead he's watching Mission Impossible. I don't understand that. No, but anyway,
Robert Lang in episode 13, tremendously incredible. Let's go. Just go check that out. That's all I'll say.
I thought this was like a second Jane Fonda movie. I think I can't remember what the other one was I watched. Was she in one of the Future World?
Did you watch the thrilling movie 80 for Brady?
No.
I did.
My balls dropped. My balls dropped, and I didn't care for that. Someday you'll learn. But no, I love the fact that she was an alcoholic. She was not supposed to be an unlikable person. She lied. She did what she wanted. She was a bitch. And I think that's part of the charm is like you're saying, I need someone to root for. And at first I was like, he should just let her hang her out to dry. But then I thought about it, it's like, why is he so obsessed with her? Until you find out that he used to be alcoholic too. Yep. And he's an honest cop. He just can't let somebody innocent go to jail. And like I said, even at the end, we find out the killer is. It's like he said, it's like it's just the way the world is. The world sucks. A little
cynicism in it, which you normally have in these type of things, but at the same time too, the 80s kind of shied away from it. Your thrillers would just be like an erotic one or a sexual one or a cheating one or something. It didn't get too deep, but the fact that they kind of went there with it, with alcoholism being the mutual connection that they both have, being damaged individuals and helping each other out, it makes sense. But the 80s really shied away from that, definitely.
And I just real quick up, and I never said she was mid at all.
No, I made a comment in there that, to use your phrase, I said she was mid at best.
No. I thought she was pretty well. I thought she was on par with Jeff Bridges in the movie. Jeff Bridges wasn't the best in this movie either. This whole movie was kind of like
We weren't
This was-
talking about her performance.
Yeah, and I'm talking
We
about
were
overall
talking
movie.
about her looks.
I don't. Well, honestly, Pixel,
That was mine, not you. Don't worry, we're good.
you can't speak about performance, okay?
So-
No, so I want to point out, like I said, the whole movie, as far as it felt like a made for TV movie.
It did.
And you can tell it was low budget, but I mean, I'm not sure what the figures are as far as
It cost 15 million to make, and it earned 25 million.
because of Jeff Bridges,
Yeah,
and
it's not
probably Ron Julia.
Sure.
But no, but I mean, as far as this is this, could they had a better actor? They could have had Bruce Willis in here. I mean, he was big in Moonlighting. I said he had Die Hard and all that stuff. It just felt like there was this is a cookie cutter story. We've seen this before. And I want to see more Jeff Bridges being a serial killer. That's what I want. I want to see that because the guy has a person. I mean, he can pull it off. We've seen it with Bill Pullman in Frailty. Jeff Bridges has that soft-spoken demeanor. It's like the way he handles himself.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah,
he's got that all-American kind of thing.
He's and I think he was actually in what was that movie with he was he was in Fires, remember? Oh.
I know he was in the Big Lebowski.
It wasn't Big Lebowski. I gotta look this up.
And people love the Big Lebowski.
No, my gosh, he was in this movie, and it wasn't Fire Down Below. It was something else, but it was a '90s movie, and he turned out he was the one that was setting the fires. He was the bad guy in it.
Well, I'll tell you, to
We didn't start the
movie
fire.
he did earlier that I've always said at some point we'll probably do, because I don't think we've done it here on the Extreme Movie Show, but 2 years earlier with 1984 was Against All Odds, which is just a lot more sensual. It's a lot more sexy to it. He plays like a football player that's pretty much at the end of his career. And James Wood, who's just an incredible actor, no matter what you might think of him politically, he's such an asshole, arrogant guy. And Rachel Ward is like his girlfriend. And he basically says, bro, my chick kind of ran off. Your job's to go find her and get her to come back. And there's a lot of status kind of economic level thingies being talked about here in professional sports. And Jeff Bridges, I'm telling you, pretty much peaked, I think, in '84 with those two things. And it's just incredible. And Rachel Ward just is captivating in it here too. Jane Fonda, to her credit, does a great job in this movie. Jeff Bridges, I think, was capable of a lot more, but for what this movie called for, did not have to be. And so again, I don't want to make that a negative for the film. You know what I mean?
The one I'm thinking of is Blown Away. Remember that movie? Like
Vaguely. I do remember him being a bad guy in a movie or two.
Oh, yeah. As like I said, I like when he plays the bad guy. He's just got that the guy next door.
Yeah. Just like the alien in Starman.
Tommy Lee Jones was in that, versus Jeff Bridges.
All right, final thoughts, Pixel?
My final thoughts are, it's all right. I'm there. Jane Fonda does a great job. I think Jeff Bridges does a great job. He was honestly the reason to stay with the movie, because I think that Jane Fonda's character, you can have flaws and still be likable. Instead, they didn't make her really likable, and she had flaws, which just made her worse.
We keep you around, Pixel, because you're flaws and you're likable.
Oh,
I
I'm
agree
very
with you, Pixel, because that's pretty much how I felt about it too. Yeah. RDV. And
like I said, this was watch it, one and done movie. It's nothing to write home about it or tell your friends, hey, you gotta watch this. It was on. I was looking up Thanksgiving movies where movies take place on Thanksgiving, and we've already covered most of them that appeared up in the Google search. So I was looking for a new one. I was like, this is Jeff Bridges, and I never seen Jane Fonda. And it's 1980s, and it looks like a thriller. So I was like, sign me up. I mean, I'm trying to find more 80s movies as much as I can that I haven't seen. Wow, it's like I said, I like that. I like Jeff Bridges, man. Jeff Bridges is a cool actor.
Yeah. Anything you need to plug for tonight?
If you guys haven't already done so, please check out our old man reviews for TV shows on this channel, and just share out the channel if you can. We're like 9 subs away from getting 1,000 subs. Definitely, like I said, share us out. We appreciate everybody, and I think I'm not sure if you have a Ko-Fi. Do you have anything like that in your channel though, as far as like a donating money to? Probably nothing, right? But
Not at this point.
Well, we do have super chats, right? Or no?
Not at this point.
Oh,
It
damn it!
exists, right?
Right.
Of course, we're here.
But if
Am
you guys can help share the channel and just word of mouth, man. And it's actually, if there's any movies that you want us to review this Thanksgiving or this whole month, let us know. Leave a comment down below in the bottom. Yeah, and then in 30 minutes or 45 minutes, Pixel and I will be over on the Geeky Puppet Show. Check us out over there. We're doing 2 different readings, Fantastic Four and a Spider-Man, where we ham it up to the point where you might just cringe to death. But who knows? You'll have fun.
And then Tuesday night, you and I will be on at 8 p.m. Eastern time, to be determined. But I can promise everybody else between now and Thanksgiving, we'll have... I'd have to find the right expression, say, in a Hallmark card or something like that, some sort of movie that celebrates Thanksgiving in an extreme way.
I'm thinking we'll have to do some more Hallmark movies this year.
We'll see how that goes.
For me and Woody Allen and Rob, have a good night.
Good night, everybody. This has not been a Dan Curtis production.
My gosh, you look like the
Not
man
at
from
all.
Up. He's the old man from Up. But...
The old man from Up. Well, you know how that ended. Not good. That kind of made me go, oh, a little bit.